I'm talking about an article from 1980s, talking about the Empress of the Washington. Article 1990s, talking about 30, 40 years ago article. This new stuff is a bunch of propaganda. Most of the internet is all propaganda. This it's fabricated, it's whitewashed. It's no good. So the Anti-Defamation League considered the Washington Nation an extremist movement. Washington denied that his organization is a hate group because they're saying that the white supremacists who try to call themselves Washington Nation are anti-defamation. The Watchdog themselves consider themselves to be part of the tribes of Israel. If you go look at my book, it talks about us being the tribe of Shabazz or the tribe of the lost tribes of the people of Israel, one of the lost tribes. So how we anti-Semitic? But
he says that he says that the guy that didn't just kill white people, he killed a black cop. So how could he be related?
Exactly, dear. I'm telling you, and the black cop. I knew the black cop that killed the freaking Moor. That's Brother Jackson. He was one of us. He was, and understand. See this thing here? They got this one guy here. The day this event happened, they had several men in camouflage. This one guy, when it was live going on, we're watching the news. Me and my son watching this live. When those cops got shot, they reported several guys in camouflage running around the street who did the shooting. Then they got down to one black guy and they never found the body. So, and if you understand this, before this happened, before this event in Baton Rouge happened, had a similar happening in Dallas where the cop got shot there and they had to put a robot in to go kill some black guy in Dallas who tried they tried to blame for starting the race right. They're trying to start a race right.
And then they said, "Oh, he's a sovereign citizen." So this is how they were trying to take this group who believed in pyramids and that we were here before. They tried to take that into the sovereign citizen and merge those two things together, because even like this, so now people will
look, excuse me, look at this. Remember I told you they try to take all of the things, boogeyman names, and put them together and try to look. It says the group was founded in 1990 by Washington's mother. And it says on here she was frequently in Detroit mixing with a Nation Islam leader. See that? Nation Islam is automatically
and influenced by Black Power movements.
Yeah, and the group includes
her son said though. So that her son said this.
The Empress was back in the turn. The Empress was with Dr. King. The Empress walked with Dr. King and Dr. Joseph Ben Yakinen and John Henry Clark. All of her contemporaries. The Empress was in Georgia walking with she told me she did a walk with Georgia and Lewis back. Somewhere the Empress had always been engaged in the struggle. Okay, her whole life. I'm saying she formed a city of her own. She was the mayor of a city. I'll find an article for you, but all you're reading is propaganda. This is propaganda to make us look bad. They got the Nation Islam. I think they drew my partner in there. Yassine Bey, Most Def. They tried to, anybody they could put in there and hurt it and stain them as a dog whistle for something negative American public. This article right here was their dumping the white supremacists separating themselves from the Washington Nation. Up to this point, the white people claim they were Washington too. Now it's going to be bad guys. We the posse comitati? We the white nationalists? We the sovereign citizens? No, we are a sovereign nation of indigenous people who white folks tried to join and couldn't. They didn't. But the Empress, and once again, the Empress said if they have 1/32 white indigenous blood, they part of us too. All indigenous people come out of the Washington. Every indigenous tribe in North America, South America, Central America can trace its roots back to the chief people, the Washington people. So Caucasian people came and said, I'm 1/64th Native American. I'm 1/8 Native American. Empress said, we got to set them all, Umar. We can't block none of them out. Now the Empress, no, you cannot do that. So that was me and her having a difference of opinion. But I know that when I came back from Geneva in 1997, and before I left, I'm doing a lot of communication to the state of Louisiana. When I got back, the Empress received a letter from the Secretary of State, or the Secretary of State of Louisiana, saying, yes, Empress, we see that you are owed a lot of money, but it's not from my office. But I see you found an office that did owe you money. So when Empress got a letter with the state of Louisiana acknowledged owing us, I don't know, billions or trillions of dollars, that's when that white nationalists lost their freaking mind and took over. That's when I left. I'm not there for the money. So you understand
So L. Bey, who died 2 years ago, wrote a book on the ancient ones, as they are called, and traveled the country to give speeches promoting the idea that the land sold by France to the United States in 1803 in the Louisiana Purchase was fraudulently obtained and actually belonged to her.
Absolutely.
The claims have been rebuked by government officials, and in 2000, the FBI raided El-Bay's compound in Louisiana on suspicion of fraud and tax evasion.
Listen, that's not her tax and fraud evasion. All them Caucasian people who had did all that fraud were at her compound hiding. Ember became a refuge for all the white nationalists, all the white sovereign citizens. They all ran there. That's 2000. I was gone in 1997. And when I came back from Geneva, Switzerland in the fall of 97, I was dismissed. They took over.
So Washington said that after the raid, he instructed members to start paying taxes, and the group stopped. So here we go. Illegally issuing items such as Washington Nation's license plate and passports.
So that's not the Washington Nation. That's a group in North Carolina who was a government FBI sting operation in North Carolina issuing out Washington plates.
Right. Oh, here we go. Washington, who moved to Southern California 4 decades ago,
said he group only aimed today is reclaim thousands of acres of land. So all this talking about the Emperor's son, Frederick Washington. All he wanted, he told me, was his inheritance. Okay. He ain't worried about the Washington Nation or government. He want what he think his family is owed, his inheritance. That's what he told me. So understand this guy, Frederick Washington, talking about now, was never part of the Empress government. He had no part of it. He would nothing to do with it, and he didn't want his family involved in it. So you see his daughter's name, Wendy, in there. That's not fair. That's a wonderful woman who had nothing to do with this here. That's just the government once again, and the white Nazis once again trying to smear her name, smear his name. The same way you take the word ISIS. Well, ISIS was the ancient Kemetic name and now it's been smeared, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The name Hannibal has been smeared, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The name Washington has been smeared the same way. Just propaganda is not true.
I remember this whole thing, what they would call it, wars on paper, right?
Yes.
And so
white sovereign movement and Negroes got involved. That's exactly white. They'll see that white sovereign citizen stuff had nothing to do with the Washington, but they came and hijacked the Washington at some point, and I was gone. So the Washington Washington was their cover. They actually see this Dr. Alim Bey. That's the guy who was publishing stuff, illegal stuff. But I believe he had the permission of the United States government or the FBI or whatever sting operation you got going on, the Unity, Washington document paperwork. When a lady came to me to interview me, she had this guy's document, this Dr. Alim Bey. She had this document in his hand and showing me the documentation he had. And so the guy who supposedly shot the policeman in Baton Rouge had this documentation from this guy here, Alim Bey, you're showing there. So, and when you looked at documentation, the FBI agent was in my museum of Washington information. She said, okay, this is not the same flag, not the same information. Oh, this is something totally different. This is not the same people. So fortunately, we had the museum up and display up. So when the FBI agent was there interviewing me, she could just compare Alim Bey's United Washington documentation to the actual Washington documentation we had. And she could see this is two different things. They had that documentation had on, once again, white nationalist images. German flag, all this Russian stuff on it, and had nothing to do with the Washington Nation. So she thought it's not the same people, not the same flag. It's a false flag. So I got cleared. I'm so happy. She came in and interviewed me, and the agent actually ended up buying a book and some honey from us too. Thank God, nice lady. But she came in, thinking they're going to come. They had the agents around the corner waiting to come raid our house, and jack us up. When she getting right signal. But once again, the Creator is great. We are protected, and I'm still here. And all this was though they were not tied to Washington's group, some people who consider themselves sovereign citizens of Moorish origin have carried out a string of criminal. So once again, had nothing to do with the Washington. See that? They're Moorish people who hooked up with the sovereign citizens. You to do with the Washington Nation. They tried to hide behind us.
And you see, so they're saying since 2000, there's been 18 incidents since 2000 of Moorish sovereign committing extremist violence and plots ranging from traffic stop shootouts and prison escapes to rape and child molestation.
The same thing the white nationalists are doing right now. The same thing they had at Ruby Ridge. So remember Ruby Ridge? with the shootout. You had the Montana Freemen making false stuff. You had even recently in Oregon, you had those white people occupy the national park up there. You had all these white supremacists standoff over in Maine. So understand you have Moors get caught up in that ideology of the white nationalist sovereign citizen movement. You have Moorish Science Temple being, I guess what's the word? What are they doing? Assimilated into the sovereign citizen stuff. And you have these people who are call themselves Moors using that sovereign citizen documentation to trick other people. And that person you have that Alim person they had on that article is one of the people who was producing documentation. And I warned people that back when Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam, the only thing that everybody went from Malcolm X was a list of people or an organization. And that guy out there was gathering a list of people and organizations that the government was able to intercept. So if you join his organization, the government had a list of people who consider themselves to be Moorish American, but had nothing to do with the Washita. He was using the Washita as his cover. United Washita, whatever name he had zero to do with the Emperor of the Washita, the Imperial Washita Nation, or the land Washita. Because Washita is in Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and the Mississippi River Valley. This guy's over in North Carolina, Mecklenburg County, selling people documentation like he's Washington. Nothing to do with the Washington Nation. Totally fake. Then you have all kinds of offshoots. You have the Nubians, the Nuwabians. So all other groups who adopted Washington ideology and just kind of blended into what they're already doing to go to another level.
So are you so what is this? Is this part of like the same United Nations Human Rights Commission?
No, this group here, the Yamasee tribe in Georgia, that's a real tribe. That's a real group of people. There are indigenous tribes of Moors all over the United States. If you look at the East Coast of the United States before the so-called Pilgrims got here, from Maine down to North Carolina, all the East Coast of the United States was occupied by Moorish settlements. From Boston down through D.C., Virginia, it was all already populated. Before the English got here, that was already occupied and populated by Moorish people. The whole East Coast of the United States. Well, it's a book called 1491, where the author talks about how when the Pilgrims got here, they found all these ghost cities full of dead people because they brought in the first wave of Europeans came here with disease. Okay, and when they came back later, like what's that, Roanoke? They had the lost tribe of people. You have people come from Europe. The people they brought here from Europe were some of the sickest people out the infirmaries, off the street. They were the
I heard they had a lot of like people with like alcoholism. That's why they were so brutal because they were drunk the whole time.
The Europeans, not only England but Scotland, the Netherlands, Belgium, were clearing out their neighborhoods, their cities of homeless people, of orphan children, of their infirmaries, of prisons, and send them over to the United States. As a matter of fact, after the American Revolution, they started shipping them down to Australia. So Australia was populated by some of the most low-level riff-raff human beings you can find in Europe, got shipped out of Europe to the United States and then to other British colonies, not just Australia, United States. All the British colonies are populated by so-called indentured servants, the white slaves, the European slaves that came out of Europe. So understand, the people brought over here to create the concept of white people was born out of people who are themselves indentured servants, and then made a law that says that white people will never be slaves again, and African people will be perpetually enslaved. Goes back to the House of Burgesses in Virginia and the Maryland governments in the 1660s when they passed laws, and they, for the first time ever, used the term white people. Before there were English women, Dutch women, German women, and suddenly there was legislation for the first time written in law. The term white people was written in law in Maryland and in Virginia legislature because they were trying to pass laws that basically said that European women are not allowed to marry Moorish people or indigenous people. So go look up yourself. It's a book called The Creation of the White Nation, the birth of the White Nation. That I read, and she's clearly laying out the legislation. You print out the legislation where they passed laws first saying that English women can't marry non-white men or non-European men. Then it's English and Scottish women. Then English, Scottish, Irish, Belgium, Dutch, and they said, look, white people, white women can't marry non-white men. So that whole idea of white people was invented in the in the pre-United States colonies of Maryland and Virginia. Look it up. Do the research. I've done it. So once again, like I say, back to Neely Fuller and Francisco as well. All the problems we talk about now, let's just see them from the perspective of people trying to maintain control of the world and maintain the illusion of white power, white domination. That's what we're dealing with now. Economics, education, all those are factors that are being reinforced by people who are afraid of genetic annihilation. You have black people not worried about being genetically annihilated from the planet. Only if you listen to Donald Trump's followers, and when they passed that Roe versus Wade, they overturned Roe. You heard other politicians saying, "Oh, you just saved the white race because we are losing. It's a negative birth rate." So I'm listening to this lady talk about. I understand what she's saying. She's talking about how by passing Roe versus Wade, you now eliminate the death of 60,000 Caucasian babies. Like, okay, I got that now. So the whole Roe versus Wade is to allow for the birth of less abortions of they don't care about black people in abortion. They're trying to save the lives and carry on what Hitler wanted. What did Hitler want? The great white race, right? The pure white race. Donald Trump, he wants to import people from South Africa and from Norway, but nowhere else, trying to increase the population of so-called Caucasian people. The Confederacy, okay, is now running the United States. The South has won. The South, they rigged the election. I know you can't say that, but they rigged the election. They got hold of those election, those voting machines, copied the software, and found a way to rig the election. Nothing short of that going on here. People, I can say that they can't fire me. They can take my job, get the money from me. I'm self-sufficient. Me and my parents take care of our children. We run our school. We run our museum, and we have nothing to lose by telling the truth. So, just a little research here. I can tell you stuff. You don't believe what I say. Go do the research yourself. I invite everybody to go do their own research. And we need to find a way for the brothers and sisters on this side of the hemisphere to unite with our brothers and sisters on the continent. The different nations over there, Goita and Traore and the brothers in Mali and Niger are forming an alliance where they're building their own schools, their own roads. They have kicked out the colonizers from stealing all their natural resources, and they're just simply making them pay a fair price for them. Really, they can still get them, but now you got to pay the fair price. Ghana, for the first time now, says you cannot come to Ghana as a foreigner and just buy gold. You got to buy it through the government of Ghana, which makes perfect sense. And other nations over there are now learning to not fear the retaliation of the European colonizers, because the Europeans are now themselves divided and conquered. France and Germany and other nations over there are now dealing with their own internal strife and their own white nationalist movements. Okay, so I could go on, but that's deviating from the fact that the people in North America, once again, the rich people here, they're not all quote here on slave ships. We have people in North America who have always been here, what they call North America, South America, the indigenous people, the mound builders, and that's evident by the fact you have all of those millions of mounds that were built in North America, and the remnants of them still remain here. In my book, Pyramids of America, where's that book at? The book here, I have 30 states that have pyramids in America that I can personally document. There are a lot more, but in this book, I make sure I can back up what I say. When people say the receipts are right here. In here, I give you the address, the directions, what interstate to take. You turn off on this road, you can find it, okay? I give you directions to the mine site, okay? So definitely, the evidence of pyramids in America is unquestionable. The question is why you haven't heard about them yet. Because they're all around you. They're all around us. If you live in this country, you've got to be near one if you're near the Mississippi River Valley. Okay. Any questions?
Man, this is crazy. Just the information, just to know how people just jumped onto the movement and was able to use it you know, for nefarious means, and then
Absolutely.
somewhat destroyed the movement. But well, not destroyed it because it's still going on, but people had to like move another way, you know. There's different. So how do you know the difference between legitimate Moorish Washita Nation group and the true Washita group? How do you know if you're not talking to a person? Like, what is the difference between the different movements?
Just I just know because I'm in it. It's hard for me to sit here and say y'all can judge people because there are a lot of people in the Moorish Science Temple movement right now today who I love, I respect, they honor the process. But there are a lot more people who, but the people I'm talking about, they mind their own business. They're principals, they work, they have children. You have people who are trying to find some type of get over way to get over the government. I want to steal a house, or get a house I don't pay for. I got a driver's. I lost my driver's license. I got child support. They're trying. Those people are trying to use the Washita and the sovereign citizen movement as a way to get around some legal obligation. Most of them.
Let me tell you something. What about this whole? Okay, I want to ask you about this because there was this whole thing about the Social Security card being like some kind of a bank note, and this is how you get your money. Because there were people. I'm gonna listen. I know back in 2000 and I would say 16, a friend of mine, there was a person that was going from state to state and was actually like getting people's information and supposedly helping them to get their money from the government. Like, so if you have a Social Security card, then they knew how to so-called be able to access that money from the government through your Social Security, because that Social Security is tied to a bank note, and you are a piece of you are like legal tender, and your birth certificate and Social Security card is legal tender and being traded on the stock exchange and all this other stuff. So was that anything a part of what Washington Nation was talking about? Like, or
how'd that work out? Did people get their money?
I don't think that they did.
Not a penny. Now watch this. I told you when they came to Malcolm X, Malcolm X left the Nation of Islam. They wanted one thing from Malcolm X: a list of the members and information. So that guy was going around collecting a list of people who were dumb enough to get in there, and he made he compiled a list of information for the government. That was a sting operation to find the list of people who will fall for that kind of stuff. I never joined any of those lists of people, and if you even understand the Washington Nation, the Empress told me to be careful about identifying who we are. She said stay aloof, keep your head up below the firing line, because they're aiming for us, right? So that whole movement was, once again, white sovereign citizen movement. That's the whole posse comitatus mindset of we don't need a driver's license, we don't need this, we don't need a passport, and the whole thing about cashing your Social Security number, total white supremacy scam. And Negroes go jump on that like they invented it, and were selling it like hotcakes, and not one person I know got their money.
So Mos Def, was he a part of the Washington Nation, or did he get tricked by some other Moors?
Mos Def got tricked once again. My brother Paul Yasin Bey got tricked. I tried to warn him. He wouldn't listen to me. I love him, but he came and saw me. He came and saw me a couple of times. Came to my house a couple of times, and we discussed it. He tried to join the Washington Nation. I said, brother, you can't join the Washington Nation. That's past. You missed that window. So he went off to some more science people, got him hooked up, and I guess broke his heart, because I'm sure it wasn't going to work. But Mos Def, brother Yasin Bey, was very enthusiastic about becoming a Moor, gaining his Washington Moor citizenship. And I tried to warn him. He came out here and saw me, and I saw him a couple of times. Like he will perform New Orleans. They came and saw me a couple of times. He and his people, and I never heard from him again. Even now, I'm trying to contact him right now because I'm trying to get him working on a project with George Clinton and Bootsy Collins and Victor Wooten. We're trying to do a project and have Mos Def be the conscious rapper on there. So I wish he'd reach out to me right now. But that brother that got set up, if you look at that article, they put his name in there, put my name in there, Nation of Islam name there. Because at that time, Mos Def was fighting for his rights.
Put your name in the article. So you got tied into that as well, man.
I got that article about the guy killing the cops in Baton Rouge. Come back and read the article. They tried to say I was his business partner.
Wow.
Because they were trying to. Because I'm telling you, that's the week after Trump won the Republican primary. He was the official Republican candidate for 2016. Trump got his what did it say? Mos Def. arrested in South Africa in 2016 for immigration. Once again, they gave him a fake passport. Wasn't a washed out passport. See,
how did he even get into South Africa with this world passport?
I have no idea. But the world passport was something from some white supremacists over in Oregon and Arizona selling that crap to their people. I know you're showing me something new here. He was attempted to leave the country using a world passport, which is not recognized by South Africa. So the world passport is something that these white folks over they use the world service authority. Yeah, that's over. If you go trace history, that goes to some people over in Oregon, some more white people in Oregon and in Arizona. I remember I researched them before. Like people ask me the same thing, man. Don't mess with none of that stuff. It don't work. Now understand the war.
So all those like people that was getting these fake documents, these fake passports,
scammed.
They were going through something called the World Service Authority, and this World Service Authority was pretty much just scamming people. But how did he
got their money?
Wow, how would he be able to get out of the country with this document?
It's a matter of the discretion of the travel person at the counter. Okay, I'm gonna go with this. So at some point, somebody's gonna check it. Even when I travel with the washed out passport. I had to surrender my passport to the Swiss government, to the Dutch government in The Hague, and I got recognized. But that was in 1995, 96, 97. By 2000, after 911. All passport documentation changed. So after 2001, I can only use my washed out passport to travel. I used that for years. Recognized I got visas in it. Washed out passport is legitimate because we are a sovereign nation, not a sovereign citizen group. The sovereign citizen group tried to come see world citizen government. What is that? What kind of government is that? Where they land? What land is that? What nation is that? See that? What is that? So that's some Europeans in the United States don't want to be part of Bill Clinton's government, anti-federal government, white folks in America, white Christian nationalists. Okay, right there, you got it.
And so Gary Davis? Who's Gary Davis?
I don't know. I bet he's a white nationalist. Look him up. I'll guarantee you he's a white nationalist, and whatever you want to call that kind of stuff. Christian white nationalists, same people who Margaret Taylor, whatever her name is. What it look like? What they say? What they say is? I don't even know what it say. Gary was the founder of the advocating passport. Okay, yeah. Did you look
so you had certain people apparently Moors that connected with this guy.
Yes, dear. The Moors and the white nationalists came together, met at the Washington, and they started whatever, what worked for me. We're going to use some of your stuff. And so the Moors start using these white people's stuff, and white folks start calling themselves sovereign. Okay? They stole the word sovereign from the Washington nation. So there was no such thing as, if you go before 1990.
Yeah, he's right. It was a white nationalist. Davis, a former Broadway actor and WW2 bomber pilot, renounced his U.S. citizenship after witnessing the horrors of war, believing that nationalism was the root cause of the conflict. He founded the World Citizen Movement, advocating for a world government and abolition of national borders to achieve lasting peace. World government of world citizens. So this didn't even have anything to do with
the Washington.
But they framed it.
Propaganda is just trying to discredit. They had to discredit what we're legitimate. So these those stuff to discredit. They try to tie us all stuff to discredit the validity of the Washington nation and the work of her Royal Highness into the Washington. The Empress was a very real person, very spiritually guided, and we were protected. I'm still here now. We survived. We should have been killed. They're trying to kill us, but they couldn't. I'm still here now. Spreading the word. We're not going nowhere. We always been here. We are the original people. We will be the last people here on the planet. We will be here when everything else turns to nothingness and dust. We are the original man on the planet.
Right.
So he came to me to get a passport. I said, brother, you can't get a passport from Washington.
Right.
You passed their time. It's too late. But he wanted to get, so he got caught up these fools here. But he was going through the more Science Temple probably pointed to this guy here. I ain't know all that. I had no idea. But I know that when in 2016, when they tried to flush the white nationalists tried to get out of Washita Nation and tried, instead of saying we're Washitas, we sovereign Washita citizens. Now we hate the Washita. They tried to trash his name because they saw me and him together in the picture. So when they saw anybody near me, not just most deaf, everybody around me somehow caught smoke from them from trying to be associated with me and get discredited. Okay, I lost a lot of friends who got interviewed. Umar, that FBI came and questioned me about you, showed me pictures of you and XYZ. Please don't come to my house anymore. Don't come to my mother's house anymore because I was being investigated. You know, even to this day, I'm sure I'm still under surveillance, but you know, I work for God. They can't touch me. You know, I'm a 211 GLD on the place to be. They can't touch a brother like me.
Man, that's
wrong. I know they can tap this phone, hear this conversation right here, and everything I'm saying, they know already.
But you know, I wonder why it was like, even though this was from a whole nother organization, why did they focus on the sovereign and the Bay Moorish aspect of it instead
they
of
had to flush themselves? Because if you look at the beginning, they said the Washita were some white sovereign citizen people, right? Then they had to separate the white sovereign citizens from Washita. So they dumped all that negativity about sovereign citizenship as if about sovereign citizen movement as if it was initiated by the Washita. But it was nothing more than white supremacists using the Washita to cover. Washita we're legitimately sovereign from the other states. We are just like the Navajo Nation, the Sioux Nation. All those nations have sovereign status in some ways, kind of, you know, because an Indian tribe has their own police department, their own land, their own thing. Washington Nation had the same. We had our own land, our own identified land, a body politic of people, a government. I was the judge, so we had all the elements of a nation. Okay, and when the Europeans saw that, they all flocked to the Washington Nation. Republic of Texas, all the militia movement flocked to Washington Nation, trying to become part of the Washington Nation. And when they couldn't, they just moved. We don't be under the Empress. When the Empress united with the Republic of Texas, and those haters, those staunch Europeans who hated black people and hated women, those men found that the Empress was in charge. They had to fly us out of it real quick. We flew into Texas to talk about the treaty Empress signed with them. Before we could talk about the treaty, the people rebelled and wanted to kill the Empress. We had to get on a private plane, went right back to Monroe. All this is well documented, man.
And apparently what he did is that he came into South Africa with an American U.S. passport, and then when he tried to go to Ethiopia, he tried to use the world passport. So I don't know if he got that once he got, and maybe he believed. Man, it's crazy.
Let me see what I got here. See my UN bag. This like I got this thing here. Let me see this. I'm gonna show you something that's really crazy now. This is about work, United Nations. See this? This is my badge. It says Bibliotech Lecturer. I gave lectures in the UN Peace Palace, okay?
Yes.
Human rights. And that's what I was studying to get my postdoctoral degree in humanitarian law, okay? When I travel, look at this now. This is a Washita passport, okay? This is a visa from Switzerland, okay? Visa Switzerland? See that?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my passport here. My passport here. Here's my visa. On the back of my visa is my passport, okay? The Swiss government recognized the Washita passport. Issue me a visa. See my visa stamp there? What does it say there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I read this? It says nationality, Empire, Washington, Demania. Okay. The French police frontier, the police officer in Geneva Airport.
Wow. So
the paper of legitimacy, passport, Washita passport. This is the Swiss government recognizing the Washita passport, ladies and gentlemen. It's no joke. It's no secret. We're legitimate. But the sovereign citizens in that world passport was garbage. Nobody recognized that. Washita passport legitimate, darling. We work. We did the work. We're legitimate. So they can do it. Here's another visa. Here's the second visa. Well, I went the second time. It didn't happen this one time. There's another visa. What does it say there? It says what nationality? Tribe of Washita Moors. Okay, this is my second.
So do you think that if you that's good coming back into and from America, but like if you
This
were
was
to
19. This was 1995, 96, 97. It will not happen anymore because after 9/11, they changed all the passport regulations and all that kind of stuff. They missed the window. When we did this, once again, we failed to unite. If the rest of the people got together, got behind the Empress and the Washita, we would still be free and sovereign and doing our thing. But it didn't last. We didn't have what I told you. We did not have the security to protect us. My wife, my late wife, bless her heart, was the Empress bodyguard security, and she got murdered. She got assassinated in 1998. When we left the
what?
Washington, my wife got killed. So look at, let me show you something else. See this? We had our own. Look at, watch this.
How did she get?
Washita,
I don't even. Maybe I don't want to like break into that.
see
But
this? See my Washita International Motor Certification. I have my driver's license. My Washita ID. See this? This ID was posted in the sheriff's office of every parish in the state of Louisiana. A guy came and said, the guy said, one of our people went to tell I guess the police will have a conference and get ready for security. So Umar, your ID is posted on the wall. They get your giant colorful ID on the wall, man.
so did you like get pulled over a lot just having that ID?
I got pulled over. They let me go. Up until
But were you like a target? Like did they always like okay, you know?
We're under investigation, darling. But I have been to the United Nations and international recognition. I must admit, I've been to the United Nations, gave speeches, participated, writing legislation over there. I had international recognition. I was the ambassador at large for Washington Nation. As a matter of fact, darling, when we got back from Geneva the first time, and the state of Texas had a standoff with the Republic of Texas up in a place called Mount Davis and Fort Davis, somewhere out in West Texas, there was some Republic of Texas people held up in a camp with the FBI and the feds all in the bush waiting to kill them. They demanded to have myself and the Washita's Minister of Finance come there and negotiate their release. So we had to go get a private plane over to West Texas, middle of the night, take jeeps up into the mountain, and they let us go in the cabin and talk to people and convince them to surrender themselves, right? And they don't know the same people who were being tried in Dallas for Republic of Texas crazy stuff. So the one guy they called him King Arthur. So all the stuff, you can go look at the trial with the Republic of Texas. You're going to see that their King Arthur, some kind of German name he had, was one of the people who they called the Washington Nation to come in and be. I was a diplomatic negotiator to end that standoff. I went up there. We met with him and said, "Either you can come out now." It was that guy, what's his name? King Arthur, and two people, a husband and wife, who were, I guess they were Jewish or something they were talking about, whatever power they had. No one gonna touch them. But we went up there and negotiated and come out of there. And then we got back in the Jeeps and crept back down the mountain, back to the airport, flew back to Washington. So there's a time when the Washington Nation, we had earned our respect and recognition. But over
so
time,
what is the state? What is the state of it now? Where is the Washington Nation?
We're done. It was done in 97 when I got back from When I got back from Geneva, Switzerland, in 1997. The white supremacists had taken over the Washington Nation. I've been gone out of the country. When I came back, Empress had a table full of Caucasian people claiming they in charge, and they gave out. I'm not saying Empress sold out. They apparently gave Empress some money. She had a Mercedes Benz and all kind of stuff, and my rent had not been paid. Even though I anyway, so it's a whole other issue. But when I came back in 1997, to me it was done. It was over. These white folks took over the Washington Nation, and now they took over the White House. And what was that? 30 years ago. So now it is 30 years later. They took over the whole White House. They took over the Imperial Washington Nation. They took over the Kingdom of Hawaii. And understand the state of Hawaii was what the independent nation called the Kingdom of Hawaii. The last ruler of Kingdom of Hawaii was Queen Leleokalani. Okay, she was told either surrender your nation or we're gonna kill all your people. So she surrendered Hawaii to the once again white Christian Americans. The white Christian Americans hijacked Hawaii from the Queen of Hawaii to put her in the Washington Palace in Hawaii, and let her live. And they took over Hawaii and took over the pineapples. White Christians, same people took over the White House right now. The same white Christians with Donald Trump jacked Hawaii from the Queen of Hawaii. And then, so come back later on, the same people who jacked the Queen of Hawaii jacked her, I think it's her grandson, King Akahi Nui. King Akahi Nui in Maui, and his wife, Queen Kahinui Wahine, were harassed. They connected to the white Christian movement in Hawaii, and somehow got duped into combating the state of Hawaii. The white nationalists tried to get the king of Hawaii to do what the Empress did and declare sovereignty and have his own license plate and all that kind of stuff. And that's that Watchdog.
So do you think that's almost like a psyop, like they purposely went in to do this, or do you think that they were just trying to like?
Of course they did. The infiltration. The white supremacists.
Like, do you think it was a government, or do you think that it was like people that were like just white people that?
Dear, what is the difference? The white people who infiltrated the Watchdog Nation were white people who themselves had gotten in trouble. They may not have been FBI agents. There are people who, if you don't help us, you're gonna go to jail. Go in, set the Empress up, get some pictures of us. And people come to Watchdog trying to snap pictures of our equipment, of our room, our private stuff. They were agents from the FBI and from the government trying to infiltrate us and get information to decode us. But the one thing they could not do with the Watchdog Nation was trick us into buying a bunch of guns. One of the moves that we're trying to convince us to go, we're going to get you a bunch of guns and bullets. And when they do that, then the ATF coming in and raids us. So Watchdog Emperor's like, we need guns to do this. We already lost the fight. So one thing about, I remember one time I went to a trial in Shreveport, Louisiana. They had a guy arrested, and the prosecutor was trying to say this is a Watchdog person, X, Y, Z. The judge is quite familiar with the Empress of the Watchdog because, and as I said, Empress had been in politics in Louisiana in the 70s and 80s. By the 90s, most of the people in office had somehow been under her or come through her. The Empress helped get the sheriff in Washita Parish elected, the mayor in Monroe elected. All the politicians came behind her when she was sent to the Washita Nation had been people who had been under her in politics. So when the judge heard this guy talking about the Washita Nation being violent, he just laughed. The judge laughed. I was in the court. You talking about them colored folks down in Monroe? They ain't violent. That's Vertus. They call that's the mayor. That's Mayor Golston. So those judges knew the Empress before, so that's why the Empress was able to do what she did because she had recognition. She had she had what is called political clout. Yeah.
Wow.
So she was one of the first black women to be a mayor. Understand the civil rights movement was in 1964. In 1974, the Empress of Washington had set up her own city and was the mayor. 10 years before that, you couldn't even vote. Now she started her own city and a mayor. That's so significant. You can't touch that.
And then by about 5-10 years later, they just dismantled the whole situation.
No, that was 1974. Richwood, the city of Richwood is still there now. The city of Richwood has been, I think, merged into the city of Monroe.
Yeah,
the city
of Richwood. Brown is the mayor now.
Yeah, it's called Richwood Township. Called the
Township of Richwood, right? Yeah.
Richwood Township, and now then became.
Isn't that the same place that Elon Musk is putting on his like?
No. That's in Holly Ridge. That's in Holly Ridge. That's a little ways up the road between Rayville and Delhi.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's from Rayville. Now that's Richwood is south, going south down 165, I believe it is.
She's talking about Franklin Parish, correct?
Yeah, she's talking about that. Yeah, no, she's talking about Richland Parish.
Richland, okay. Because the Empress over in Franklin Parish. At one point, when the FBI raided the Empress, she was not in Washita Parish. She was in Franklin Parish by a city called Winsboro. And that's where you have all of those white nationalist people
down there, right? There's a place called Warsaw down there.
So were they able to move her out of where she originally was, make her move over here, and then that's made her look more vulnerable?
Nah. Well, what she did when we were in the city of Monroe, and I got arrested, they started arresting all the Washitas in Monroe. Empress moved out to what they call Franklin Parish, near a place called Winsboro, where all these rich Caucasian people, the white nationalists, the white Christians, the Missouri militia, the Michigan militia, all these different white militia groups came down like they Washita. You got these Caucasians driving around Monroe with Ford LTDs and Crown Victorias with Washita flags on them, like they're part of us, and they weren't. So that happened.
So that was probably like by design.
Dear, when I got I went to jail there. They arrested me, jacked me up, beat me up, tried to
What was the charge? Why did they take you to jail?
We don't recognize your nation.
Wow.
They brought the government. Watch it. They brought this was on April. It's right before Valentine's. They brought the governor to Monroe. for a conference. The white supremacists in Monroe brought the governor there called the Northeast Louisiana Economic Community, right? The Ku Klux Klan brought the governor there for lunch. Gave him a big campaign contribution and had me arrested by 3 o'clock. And started arresting all of Washita that one day. Big art, man, look, all this documented. Well documented. They brought in.
So these are people that were working with the queen or the empress, but they were doing their own stuff on the side, and then with what they were doing on the side with the government, kind of caused some kind of a like for them to come against the black people that were Washita to take over the whole thing. So now, if you see Washita, it's no longer owned by the black. Original Washita?
The Washita Nation is a tribe. Let's say in the Choctaw or the Cherokee. We are a tribe. We are an indigenous tribe, okay?
Right.
The political entity, body politic of the Washita Nation was hijacked and taken over in 1997 by
so can you still see it right now in today? Like, do you still see Washita Nation right now today?
Yeah,
are they in
right now?
I'm saying like.
But no, there's no body of us collectively organized like that, but we're still here. We all know each other. We love. We what our.
I was just trying to see if they like took it over and then made their own Washita, and then that's
they took
the
it
one.
Over, they couldn't make their own Washita. They dissolved. They couldn't make their own Washita. They took it over and it wrecked. It crashed because they're trying to take the empress authority to issue her own passports, issue her own driver's license, her own her own certifications. And convert it to a system they already had in place. They already before they met the empress, white people already trying to make their own license plates, make their own driver's license. They said we have the right to travel. We don't need a driver's license. We don't need Social Security cards. You have the anti-federal government Caucasian people. When Bill Clinton became president, the people who have been Ronald Reagan got elected in 1980. Then Bush had 2 terms. He had 12 years. Watch this now. Let me go back a little bit further. You had the 60s civil rights movement. 68, King got killed. In the 70s, it was the black thing. James Brown, I'm Black and I'm Proud, Soul Train, disco music, rap music. Then in 1980, watch this here, when the United States invaded Iraq, or invaded Iran, and crashed under Jimmy Carter, back in 1980, the United States invaded Iran and got destroyed in the desert. Helicopters wrecked together, sandstorm. Remember that happened? Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan took over.
Right.
Okay. And that's when you had the reign after the 60s and the 70s, great, all this black stuff, disco music, disco sucked, came in, and all this rap music came in. That's when the white people took over again. And Ronald Reagan did the same thing that Donald Trump did. Canceled all the Pell Grants, canceled any money going to people of color, took the solar panels off the White House. Ronald Reagan was the precursor, not Ronald Reagan, the handlers, the white supremacists, Jerry Falwell, those white movements in the 60s and the 70s when they're going against all the black culture, what's called it? The moral majority, Jerry Falwell, they got Ronald Reagan elected, are the same white supremacists who got Donald Trump elected. The far right, white nationalists, white Christians, white power people. That's what you're talking about.
Well, Obama said that they were called the Federalist Movement. That Donald Trump.
The Federalist Movement, the Heritage Movement. You can get anything you want to. They still, and then the Federalist Society is still writing. So back then they called it the Federalist Movement. Today they call it the Federalist Society. They write all of the stuff for Republicans to elect people. They pick the candidates for the Republicans to elect people. The Heritage Foundation, which was another heritage movement I studied back in the 90s. Was the same people who now wrote this plan, the 2025 plan, 2025, what they got going on?
Project 2025
from the Washington, the same Europeans who had their.
So it was the people that did the thing with the Washington are now the people that are running the government.
The same people who run the government did the thing who run the government now. Yes, the white patriot movement, the white male power movement did it to the Washington, the Kingdom of Hawaii. The United States government today, they did it in Germany. They're doing it right now in Germany. Right now, they have the far right movement. You have it in Hungary, over there in the Eastern Bloc. What used to be the Eastern Bloc of Europe, behind the Iron Curtain. Those people are still white nationalists. It's still what you call Nazi.
So it was like a way. So their objective was to dismantle what you guys had.
Absolutely. After 2016 and Trump won the Republican campaign, the Republican nomination, they no longer need the Washington.
Wow.
They had the White House.
So are they also the same people that you would call the Proud Boys that did this insurrection?
Yep, same one. The Proud Boys is just a new iteration of the militia. Okay, the Proud Boys, another name for the militia, or the Ku Klux Klan. The word Ku Klux Klan is not an organization. It's a concept. It means let the circle be unbroken. White people have one thing that I admire them about. It's called unity. They do not break the circle of whiteness. Okay.
So Ku Klux Klan means do not break the circle.
It means let the circle be unbroken. 1 second.
What?
Here's a book called The Fiery Cross. See the book here?
Yeah.
Go into deep detail on Ku Klux Klan came from, how it started in Pulaski, Tennessee, and the General Forrest Gump, where Forrest Gump got his name from, General Forrest, Mississippi. Very detailed on the Ku Klux Klan. The word Ku Klux Klan means, it's a Latin term that means let the circle be unbroken.
Wow.
You hear this right now, okay.
So when they infiltrated, they didn't even need to be a part of the U.S. government. It was just an ideology of, okay, they're over here doing this. We need to break this up. And how we're going to do it, we're going to infiltrate it and use it to our benefit. Try to, but she's not realizing they probably didn't have a meeting somewhere. Listen, we're going to say we took 65% Indian and we're going to get in cool with her, give her some money, whatever.
Dear sister, they tried to bribe me. More than once, they tried to offer me and my wife money. A briefcase full of cash one time at a conference. I gave the money to the Empress. They had cases full of coins, like platinum coins, gold coins, silver coins. Umar, this for you. We're gonna need you to help us cooperate because we're gonna make you the Empress at the Empress. Like you fools. They don't know I'm ex-Klan public enemy.
Right.
Before I sell out, I get the hell out. I'm not gonna sell out. Never. There's no price on my head. So I got out, and it's good now because there are people in the Washington, brothers and sisters under. Brother Umar, why are you leaving? Why you going to abandon us? No, y'all don't understand what's going on behind the scenes. These white people took it over, and the Empress is bless her heart. She was I don't know what. When I got back from Geneva, Switzerland, something that happened to the Empress in Washington. They had zapped her. She was not the same person. She was anybody who saw her knew there's something wrong with her.
Was she older? Was she older, or was she younger?
Here, she had been something that happened to her. She had lost what she had before. She had lost whatever she had when I first met her. The white folks had drugged her. I don't know what they did to her. But anybody around you will tell her she had been truly a change. She was truly a changed person. In 1997, the Empress, including the Empress doctor, Dr. Elizabeth, what's Dr. The Empress had a doctor who explained to me she's going through dementia. I shouldn't say all this kind of stuff, but it's a fact.
No,
the doctor came and told me that there's something wrong with her. She's not the same mama, something wrong with mama. And the Empress doctor flew in from Detroit.
What about also the family? Was they like something? Why didn't the family step in and say, hold on, y'all not fixing to be sitting up here trying to take over my mom's situation? But did they have her sign off some stuff to where they could say, no, we have control over her? Because I mean, I know.
Okay, once again, let's just break it down. When the Empress was involved in this Washington Nation, the Imperial Washington Nation, when I got there, 1992, 93, 94, 95, her only son, Joe Frederick Washington, was not involved in the movement. He was in California with raising his family and his granddaughter, and the Empress liked it that way. People thought I was the Empress' son. They thought when they found out. Matter of fact, that's the day I broke out of it. When the Empress said, Umar, you probably need to go home to your mom. When I said that, I got back from Switzerland, and I came to the meeting, and the table full of Caucasian people, which that's what it is. I'm not hating on them, but the Empress told me that Umar, you're not going to be under him. That's when I resigned immediately. She said, Umar, maybe you go home to your real mama then. And people said,
what?
So in front of them people, she let them know right then and there that I was her real son for the first time in probably 4 or 5 years. They all, up to that point, they assumed I was the Empress' real son. So the Empress' real son's out in California. Joe, Bless his heart, poor brother. He wanted nothing to do with that. He didn't want his children, his wife, or his family in any way affected by that. And in retrospect, he blew up in his face. When after the FBI raided his mother's place compound out there in Franklin Parish, Louisiana, he came out there and he was destroying records and trying to keep the mess with his mom and take her home, take her to California with her and with him and put her in a
old folks home.
Elderly care, yeah, old folks home. I won't say it like that, but an elderly care facility.
Pretty much. So hey, we not politically correct over here. Old folks.
Okay, yeah, they put an old folks home. It was not a bad hospital. I visited her a couple of times, but I know at one point I was told I can't go there anymore. They told me, you can't go and visit her. How you going to tell me I can't see a grown woman, man? Please get out my face. Anyway, but yeah, I went and saw her a couple of times. I took her nieces and nephews who knew. I was showing where she was in the hospital. I would not talk to her son first. I just show up and go visit her, right, and take her stuff she wanted. And eventually, in 2020, so that was like 20. That was like year 2000 when they raided her. When they said they raided her in 2000, I was not down there.
The son came and got her, brought her to California, put her in the old folks home.
Yeah.
So, what do you think that those people got into his ear too? So he said, well, he can't come, or.
Well, I know that her book, Return of the Ancient Ones, is republished, okay, and it's the cover with the red, black, and green cover, which is a revised version of her book. I never really read the thing. I know it's not. I know when I looked at that book, the page numbers are off. Stuff had been omitted and changed, so I didn't see the legitimate copy of her book. I thought it was her same book, copied, word for word, verbatim. But I see it was a book that had been edited, and I can see the Empress is a very real Southern woman. She used vulgarity. She used cuss words, you could say, adult language in her book. And I see that they had a Christian whitewashing of her book in some parts of it. And I realized that the new version they were selling was not the original exact copy of the original book. So I don't even promote that book. But that's what her children put out after she passed away. And because of the original book, Return of the Ancient Ones, only had about 1,000 copies printed up. It was printed up in Chicago by some Moors under, I think, Johnson Bay out of Cleveland, and Judge Clinton Nelson Bay helped get her first book in print. And there was only one real running of the first issue of that book. And even though it had complications, it was done like in 1990 using 1970 methods. Okay, so it was done really on a press, and that book was printed up, and there were like, let's say it wasn't edited properly. So some pages were out of order. It didn't matter because the documentation you had in there was so significant, so profound that book is a monument. Anybody get that book and read it will understand the validity of the Washington Nation. That book, Return of the Ancient Ones, is awesome. And even now, I don't sell her book, but I have written a book called The Ancient Ones Revisited, where I've answered questions people have about the Washington. Like what we're talking about right now, it's in the book. The Ancient Ones Revisited is going to answer people's questions about her book, Return of the Ancient Ones, and how it can be interpreted. And as a matter of fact, at one point in that winter of '95, me and Empress bought something called a word processor. Like before the laptop, you can like have a keyboard and a monitor. Okay, so now you can fix errors instead of having the whiteout and chalk. You can fix your errors on the screen. Phenomenal. We got a typewriter with a monitor, right? And we sat there and we redid her whole book on that word processor. So somewhere in the world there's a floppy disk with her book properly laid out. And I don't know what happened to that floppy disk, but I personally sat with Empress for months redoing her book. So I'm very familiar with the content of her book and the significance of each document she put in there. So I'm going to actually publish The Ancient Ones Revisited. Her book, Return of the Ancient Ones, is monumental. And I'm going to just publish my recall of she and I going over her book and explain some of the confusing things in her book and why she will put in there a document talking about adjudicated property in Louisiana. She has a document explaining about adjudicated property in Louisiana, right? That's because the title she has is an adjudicated title. So, and it'll tell you that adjudicated titles in Louisiana are proper titles to land in Louisiana. But yeah, people say, oh, that's not a real title, it's adjudicated title. So people argue that her title wasn't valid. But she made sure in her book, she put in there evidence. Anybody who had any questions could go right to the evidence in Louisiana law explaining the validity of her stuff. So Empress's book It's thorough. She has the lawsuit, one of the longest lawsuits in the history of the United States between the Turner family and the United States government. Okay, and in that trial, you will see in her book that the judge, once again, June 19th, decided that the Washita family had a legitimate claim against the United States for the land they claimed in the Maison Rouge land grant, and they had to surrender it to them. And the amazing thing is that the Roger B. Chaney, the judge in the Dred Scott decision, was one of the guys who tried to overturn the lawsuit that said the Washita owned the land. Okay, so they tried to overturn this term. This here. What is that? Creek Nation? I know Creek Nation. The Supreme Court involved a suit against the Creek Nation. No, that's something totally different.
Okay.
That's not the Washita. Now, understand, my great grandfather's name is Turner Starr. Go look up Turner Starr versus Thompson as a lawsuit. You're gonna see that my family owned all this land in Oklahoma, and they stole it from us. And my family fought to get the land back. And the state, I guess the Supreme Court, whatever court said that your claim for the land is legitimate, but because you took so long, we're not gonna get the land back because of you missed the statute of limitations. So my family, Turner Starr, my great-great-grandfather fought a lawsuit to get our family land back. After the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing, we were literally miles from Tulsa in Oklahoma. My family had land there. And my grandmother's baby sister, Aunt Nellie, who told me the story about how they came and knocked on Turner's door and told him to get his family out of there. They come to kill all the black folks in Oklahoma. So my family ran out of Oklahoma. Yeah, there you go. That's Turner Starr. That's my family. Turner Starr. This case is saying that you have claimed recovered possession of land must be covered, and it's saying that you took too long, basically. Turner Starr is my great-grandfather. Great-grandfather, my grandmother's father, my father's grandfather. So here you have a case where my personal family is fighting for our land back, and we're gonna get it too. I have relatives who are still fighting to get this land back for our family, because our people were in Oklahoma before the Trail of Tears brought natives from all over the country. We were already in Oklahoma. We had a Star. Sam Houston Star. You'll find that my great-grandfather got assassinated in Oklahoma fighting for this. On his gravestone it says Sam Houston Star assassinated in sometime in 1893, I think it was.
So the Cherokee and Creek in Alabama, do they have anything to do with the Washita?
Yeah, because the Cherokee and Creek in Alabama got transported to the Washita in the Trail of Tears, darling. When they had the Trail of Tears marching the Cherokee, Creek, Chickasaws out of Alabama, Georgia, Florida, they marched them to the Washita. Go look at the Trail of Tears. Go look at the map of the Trail of Tears to see exactly where they marched them right into the Washita Forest, Washita Mountains, Washita River, and placed them. There are two Washita rivers. One is in Arkansas, goes through the Washita Mountains, and the other is in Oklahoma near the Red River. They went to all the Native Americans and put them in the Washita Valley between the two Washita rivers. One Washita River is spelled in the French way. The one in Oklahoma, or the one in Arkansas, Louisiana is spelled with the Ouachi, Chita, Wachita. The one in Oklahoma is spelled the correct way, Washitaw. So you have the indigenous spelling with a W, like wash, like it all come out in the wash. Yeah, it's all come out in the wash. But the Washita rivers are where they took all the native people, the Creek, the Cherokee, the Choctaw, and put them between the two Washita rivers, what they call the natural state, Arkansas, and the Native American state, Oklahoma, the Washita Valley. You can, that's fact. You can tell me, people can argue me all they want to. They can open a map right now.
So is Washita still considered like a nation in the United Nations to this day?
We still have recognition by nations who are members of the United Nations, but we never really had a seat. We had a position. When I went to the United Nations, I got a seat on the floor in the General Assembly during the conference. But people saying Washita had a seat. Washita had recognition. What we had was we were part of the indigenous people's, I guess, delegation, because at that point we were writing our own Declaration of Human Rights. So we were a part of the indigenous nations who helped to elaborate the Declaration of Rights for indigenous people. We were able to go there. I was able to have a seat. I was considered to be a ambassador.
Does this whole thing actually affect also like the current like people that are on reservations in America to this day?
Well, not well, other than being exposing the true origin, how the Washita Nation of mound builders are the original people here. We didn't come across the Bering Strait from India or Mongolia or wherever they say people walked across the Bering Strait to populate the so-called Indians walked across the Bering Strait. That's just a European lie. This is not true. And I'm sure some people walked across. If you go look at the date of those so-called crossings, we were already here. Those people in Louisiana, Alabama, and Mexico long before the time of the so-called Bering Strait crossing by Asiatic nomads.
Do you think that Tariq Nasheed with his FBA movement is kind of grabbing some of this aspect of like this nation and kind of championing that?
Who was Tariq Nasheed? Who was that?
Tariq Nasheed is the one who created the whole term FBA, Foundational Black American.
I never heard of him.
He had the movies Hidden Colors and things like that.
Oh, okay, that guy.
Yes.
I don't know what he's doing there. I mean, I like some of his videos. I like the first 2 or 3 of the Hidden Colors. Then it just kind of got, by Hidden Colors 4, it was just kind of okay, wow. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate anybody doing research. He had some of my teachers in. He had Francis Crust Wilson in there. He had Professor Small. He had a lot of great lecturers in his videos. He had a lot of great information. I don't knock any of it. He personally, I don't know him. I'm not his fan, so I can't speak for him.
All right, I was just wondering.
But one thing I do know, sister, forgive me. People asked me about him years ago, about him making a comment about the Washita. But I said if he hadn't spoke to me about the Washita, he knows nothing about the Washita whatsoever. He's just speaking on gossip. People told me he talked bad about the Washita before, right? So, but that's okay because he's ignorant. What does he know? If you're not spoken to me about the Washita, you've not done your homework, darling. You're just full of crap. I am the last great expert. I am the ancient one. I'm the last person I know. There are other old elders I know, but few were involved on the level I was involved with the Washita Nation. And the Empress herself was not anti-American government. Empress was once part of the United States government. Empress was the mayor. When the Empress had to deal with issues, I remember we got called into the state police office by Colonel Wellington. He was the colonel of the state police in Louisiana. Mayor, come here. Mayor, come here. Your people doing the wrong stuff. They drive around with these tags on because the state police in Louisiana was trying to understand what's going on. They knew the Empress was legitimate, but you had people going around with their counterfeit Washita tags on and not being like Washita. Washita are peaceful, loving people. You have people confront the police like the sovereign citizens did. So you have people who claim to be part of Washita, but they had the sovereign citizen mentality of challenge the police, have a gun, fight. Washita, we didn't do that. We peace and love, brother, sister. That's what we do. I mean, in the Washita, look at it. Here it is. See our motto? It says, one love is law in the Washita. The government officials in the state of Louisiana, including the state police, the sheriff, the mayor, police chief, all knew about the Washita Nation. It was only when those white nationalists came to the Washita, claiming to be part of the Washita,
brought in their like documentation and how, because you said you got a passport. So who made that passport?
The Washita. It's a Washita passport. Our passports are legitimate. Up until 911, when Empress didn't make any more passports. My Washita passport, I can travel around the world with it. We are recognized indigenous nation, just like the Lakota Nation, the Cherokee Nation, the Washita Nation. We are a nation of indigenous people. But how about this? The Lakota Nation, their chiefs had U.S. passports because they are under the Department of Interior. They are called recognized nations. The 5 recognized nations. The 5, what do they call them? The 5, whatever the recognized nations. The name for the people who are under the Department of Interior, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The Empress refused to become under the control of the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Department of Interior, so they didn't recognize us.
Well, so do you think that was a mistake?
Oh heck no! I'm still part of the Empress. Even now, I could go right now and get a Cherokee Nation ID card. My grandma, all my family. Do I want to be part of the Cherokee Nation? No, not me personally. My sister has her. My cousins, half my family have their Cherokee Nation nationality card. I choose to be part of the Washita Nation. We have the right to choose our own nationality. That's part of the article I helped to make sure was part of the Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People. You have the right to choose your own nationality.
So when you want to travel to another country, do you have to get a U.S. passport now?
I got a U.S. passport. I have no time for the drama anymore. It's all.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We lost you. Interesting. So right when he said that. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? This happened earlier. Just the sound just got cut off, and now it's cut off again. Right, same thing. Can't hear you. Can't hear you once again. Well, you know what, and it's right when it get good. That's when it start cutting out. That's crazy. Right when you get the drop in the knowledge, they somehow the sound cut out. It's something. It's almost like they know that you about to really say some stuff. Right. Sorry, y'all. Listen. Every time he get to really dropping it, you know what I'm saying? They get to cutting off his microphone, blacking the screen out, doing all kind of wild stuff. But he's dropping it. He's dropping it. Y'all. All right, let's see. Okay, now I can hear you. Now you we missed a little bit of what you said. So you said you had to get a passport, you had to get back on track.
Oh, well, after 9/11, the whole passport system globally changed. And I was having trouble now telling them I watched our passport because they put barcodes in the passports, and because those guys who allegedly crashed in the towers had passports, and so they changed the whole international travel system after 2001. The 2001 I went got me. I had a U.S. passport before that. I got a passport. So I got a Washington passport in 1990 when Empress came about. But even then, as we speak, there are several people in America who have multiple passports. I mean, half of Congress has U.S. passports and Israeli passports as we speak right now. So having more than one passport is not an unusual thing. You know, people Africans, we can go, but some of us go back to Africa right now and get a dual passport for Ghana or some other countries in Africa. So having a Washington passport, the U.S. passport, not a conflict, but I quit using my Washington passport. But I got tired of the hassle of missing a flight while they take time to go look it up. Okay, so let me look at it here again. When I traveled, I had a Washington passport, and if the immigration people, or what do you call it, the customs people that had not done their research, they would delay my travel. Let me see this. Watch this now. Okay, here we go. See this here? This is a document we can funnel with, right? It will say request by United States national for something exception to the passport. I have U.S. passport. I had a Warsaw passport. See this? So it says here. I had a Warsaw passport here. How did I travel into Geneva, Switzerland? I had what did it say there? And here, United States stamp sealing the fact that Brother Umar had a Warsaw passport, and it's okay. He has the exception to it. Okay. Does it say what's it? Department who? United States Department of State. My name, Raw Nubus, Marley Shabazz Bay. Okay. But it says, what it say there? It say Geneva, I don't know what it says here. But this is what the State Department gave me when I came to the country, my Warsaw passport. What are they gonna tell me? I'm legitimate. What if they're gonna deport me? Deport me to where? To Washington. Go find Washington on the map. Where's it at? Please send me
Louisiana.
Home. Yeah. Here's one for brother.
They gonna and probably what not even just like a general place like just
man.
American, they take you straight to Louisiana.
I forgot I had. Yeah. Anyway, so anybody question the Washita Nation? They try to clown us. They got all these white nationalists writing negative stories about the Washita Nation. The Empress told me, Brother Umar, stay aloof. What did she say? She don't know yourself. She don't know yourself to even respond to them. Well, now people about you clap back. You should respond to them. So Empress told me don't respond to them, Umar, and I haven't. I mean, I've been attacked so many times, but people tell me there were no mounds. You're making it all up there. Okay, but they're still standing. Go check it out yourself. That's why I wrote that book, Pyramids in America. Pyramids in America, it's actually a travel guide for anybody who doubts the pyramids exist in America. You can get that book. I got an address, phone numbers, all kind of stuff to all the different pyramid sites that are open to the public to visit. And some you can't access. But in that book, anybody question the existence of pyramids in America are shut down. Okay, I already documented that. Okay, Washita Nation. If anybody any questions, come see me. But people, yeah, see pyramids in America, travel guide. See the video there? The video there talks about the place in Frenchman's Bend. See that's the archaeological dig. They're telling you. So I'm not making up dates. You have archaeologists from American Institute. Matter of fact, this archaeologist here was from Peru, a Peruvian archaeologist in the United States. Yeah, Joe
consistency of dates running between about 5,300 for Frenchman's Bend and Watson Brake to at least 5,900 to 6,000 years ago.